Hey guys, it is Mr. Dave with the Ray Kitty Creation Workshop. You're here watching Ray Kitty Science Project. We've had a great time filming some episodes so far. I'm so excited for the science we've got today. I just want to say I really appreciate Katharsis Media for putting all this stuff together and working with us. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you guys. So I'm Mr. Dave, and we're going to do some science. So I kind of brought what we did last time back for just to show kind of thing what happened, because we're going to be talking a little bit about melting things today. Now, if you watched our last one, if you haven't, find it. You can find, yeah. So if you haven't watched that one, we saw a nice, beautiful, lovely head like this one here get dissolved, right? It did not melt, it dissolved. And that happened not because of heat, but because of a chemical process. So I wanted to bring that because I told you that after a while it would return to what it was before, right? Because it was a physical change. So I wanted to bring that this time and show you guys this is what happened to that little head last time. So now we've got this crazy hard plastic that is the same stuff as it was then, but we've released a lot of the bubbles. If you look, you can see we still have some air bubbles in there, but it's not holding near what it was before, okay? So this is just what happened to that one when it dissolved. And I was very careful to show you that that one was dissolving, not melting, because today we're going to talk a little bit about things heating up and changing state and things like that. We're going to go with this crazy little contraption that I have right here. This is something that I made to kind of demonstrate our solid, liquid, and gases and what's happening with those molecules. So you'll have to use your imagination. Ready? Imagination, right? Now, these are all little bitty pom-poms, but we are going to use them to demonstrate molecules, okay? Now, right now, those molecules have a little bit of energy in there, and so this would be considered that solid state, right? The molecules are never completely still. They're always moving around. So we've got a little bit of movement in there giving us that nice solid state of matter, okay? Now, this is going to be important when we come into our next demonstrations in a minute, so I want you to kind of have this in your mind as to how those molecules are reacting when we apply, in this case, heat energy, right? If you apply enough heat energy to most things, they will melt, okay? So this one here, we've got that solid form, right? We got a little bit of movement in those molecules. I'm going to use this here. This is a hair dryer. This is how I got this amazing dew that I got today because this gets so hot. No, I'm kidding. But this here is going to help us demonstrate another state of matter, and we're going to go from solid, we're going to go right to a gas first, and then we'll go to liquid, okay? So in order to demonstrate the gas, what we're going to do is we're going to apply energy to our molecules, okay? So we have our solid, but when you apply energy, okay, we've got that energy, instead of just filling the one little area that was in there, instead of filling that one solid area, we're now filling a lot of area, and we are moving those molecules around a lot. Now, what is fun and what happens here as we're doing this, when we're moving these molecules around a whole bunch, this is filling up all of the space, and that is what a gas does, is it's the same molecules that were in that solid, like an ice cube versus vapor, but now we're seeing those molecules go everywhere, right? Now, what's kind of fun is when we go to our liquid state, okay, we go to our liquid state, you can see that something's happened with those molecules. And you can see those molecules gently bouncing around in there in our liquid state because we still have some energy there, right? So those molecules can still move freely, but they're not bouncing all over and going everywhere. That liquid state is the same molecules, but now we have that fun little bouncing around in there of those molecules. Now you can see as it's cooling, as that energy is dissipating, our molecules are coming back down to that solid state, okay? So I want you to keep this in mind with these molecules as we're doing these next demonstrations because we're going to be interacting with these materials and we're going to be applying heat, okay? As far as safety for this one here, it does require a little bit of fire. You can use a candle. You can use a little lighter like I've got here. For The tape one, you can actually use that same blow dryer if you'd like to use the blow dryer. A caution I want to give you before we move on to this nano tape experiment. This is one that's all over the internet. Oh, I make all these wonderful things out of nano tape. When you're doing that, be careful. When I am doing this one, I'm going to be wearing safety glasses. Now, this is not something that you normally see them doing on the internet, but this nano tape, when you heat it and you are expanding it rapidly, it can pop. And when it pops, you may get a little bitty flying piece of something that if your daughter just so happens to be sitting right over there while you're doing the experiment, she's like, "Out, Dad, out, Dad." Yeah, so when you're doing this nano tape experiment, if you're doing it at home, this is one that you see all over the internet. That's why I kind of think it's important to note some of the safety that they don't show you on the internet. When you heat this tape up and it pops, you can have a little bitty piece. Now, it's not going to start a fire. It's not going to do anything like that, but it can be hot if it touches you, and you definitely don't want to get it directly into your eyeball. Okay, so when I'm doing this nano tape one, I will be using my glasses. So that's just a little bit of a safety one. Our DVD demonstration we're going to be doing in a little bit. For safety, same thing, we will have fire. Anytime that you're doing an experiment with fire or a demonstration with fire, make sure you've got an adult present. You want to be safe and you want them to be able to enjoy the fun with you. So make sure you've got an adult with you and they're participating with you. They're checking to make sure everything's safe, and they're also there to have some fun with you. Okay, so we're going to start with this nano tape one. As I said, you see this all over the internet. When I'm doing demonstrations, if it is one that I know doesn't quite work out every time, what I like to say is it may either be a demonstration or an experiment. Now, of course, when you watch this one on the internet, it works every single time. It's beautiful. They make all these lovely creations. In real life, it's a little harder than it looks. So you go through more nano tape than you would kind of expect to. Now, this nano tape, I just purchased this online. They have it in some hardware stores. They go by the name nano tape and gecko tape. Now, gecko tape is very important. I want you to remember that. If you didn't remember that, it's gecko tape. Now, I want you to remember that because in a future episode, we're going to be talking about how this tape works and how science developed this tape. It's a way bigger deal than it seems for blowing little stuffed animals, okay? So what we're going to do is I've got a little bitty piece of my nano tape, and I am going to wrap it around my straw, okay? So on this nano tape, there is also a clear film. Now, this nano tape is in a solid form right now, okay? So it is solid, which means you can manipulate it, just like those molecules are able to kind of move around a little bit. This is kind of a bouncy solid, right, or a stretchy or elastic solid. So we're able to kind of stretch it out a little bit. Now, if you're doing this, you want to stretch that tape all the way to where you can make it all the way around your straw, okay? Now, remember, this one is sometimes an experiment. It's a little harder to do than it seems on the internet. So we're going to now make a tube. We're going to kind of continue on our straw, and we're going to fold that nano tape over itself and stick it together, okay? So we're sticking this together now. On the internet and things like that, you've probably seen them use glitter inside of these. Now, I, as you may know, am not a huge fan of glitter because it is so messy. But the glitter actually helps it not to stick together on the inside here. So we're going to give this one our first try. Remember, this one is hopefully a demonstration, but may turn into an experiment. We're going from our solid. We want to see if we can blow air through there first. Nope. Okay. Now, I can blow pretty hard. Still nope. Okay, I can blow it till this little vein right here comes popping out of my head and I'm just dripping with sweat. But this solid, those molecules aren't able to move very easily. So we're going to apply heat energy, okay? We're going to do this with the lighter. As I said, I am wearing glasses for this one because sometimes it does pop. So you want to be careful about that. It's not like a fire hazard or anything like that, but you just better to be safe, okay? So I've got my little fire here, okay? And I'm going to blow and kind of twist it around on that fire and apply some heat energy to our material. Wow. Now, when I did that, it worked first time. Yay! When I did that, I was able to, I actually have 2 little bubbles in there. I was able to expand that material because it went from a solid to kind of in between a liquid and a solid, almost a full liquid form, so I was able to stretch it out very easily. This is the same way they blow glass, and they make things like that. And so this here was with those molecules. When you see these, this is a fun one to do at home because this is a pretty durable little thing. You can take, and I can turn this into some kind of weird long-eared axolotl. I don't know, but you can make all kinds of fun little things because you can stick additional bubbles onto them. I happen to make this one work the first time, so I am not going to try again. I'm going to stick with what I've got here. So this little bubble, what we saw happen with our nano tape or our gecko tape was that when we heated it up, those molecules, okay, we're going to apply just a little bit of energy to this one here, and those molecules, instead of being a full solid, we add a little bit of energy, so they were kind of in between that solid and liquid, and they were able to move around just a little bit more freely. See, we see those molecules move around, not quite to the gas. Let's see if we can get a nice liquid. There you go, where those molecules are able to just move a little bit more freely, okay? And when they did, they were able to expand, stretch out like crazy, and give us this nice little thing. The seal on this happened because we have, as I said, the other name for this is gecko tape. The gecko tape works off of tiny little carbon tubes that are nanoscopic carbon tubes, and that give us a nice little seal there, and we'll do another one all on how that seal works later because there's lots of fun science around those little carbon tubes, okay? So we have our little axolotl that we've done, and this one was a change that happened through heat, right? So we melted it, okay? So it wasn't like our poor Dan that we had last time that dissolved. This was actually heat, and so we actually melted the material, okay? So this little guy happened because of a part of science that is giving us that energy to melt that. So we're going to put this cute little guy over here. If we have time, I may try one more because I'm feeling a little like I can do that now. So we'll see how we do at the end if we've got time for another one of those guys. Now, our next one is another one that you can do at home if you're old. Now, for you guys watching this video, this is something called a DVD. This is a digital video disc. Now, if you are watching this episode, it is very, very likely you are not watching it on a digital video disc. Now, see this nice pretty rainbow? Now, when you break into mom or dad's old collection of DVDs, make sure you ask first. But there are a lot of fun science projects and just craft projects that you can do with a digital video disc because, I mean, let's face it, you're probably streaming everything anyway. So this digital video disc, what it is it's actually a couple different layers of polymers. Just like this one's a polymer, just like we were talking about our polymers before, a polymer is a chain of molecules that are linked together. And so this one here has actually got a couple layers to it. You've got a nice clear protectant layer, and then you've got a layer underneath or on top, depending on which way you're looking at it. But from the face, underneath, and that's the part that actually records the data. So it turns it into little bitty ones and zeros on this thing here, and it does it through heat, right? You've got a laser that will heat it up and then heat it to give us that digital video disc. Yeah, so if you look in an old dusty drawer, you go, and then you may find some of these DVDs in your parents' collection. So what we're going to do is make sure you ask. Make sure you ask before you go and you're like, That was my best copy of Reservoir Dogs right there. And before you tear up their DVD collection, make sure you ask. Now, this one here is actually a DVD writable, okay, which is a whole nother level. But these were DVDs that you could write yourself at home. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually cutting this DVD in half. Now, again, demonstration and experiment. I brought quite a few DVDs here just to make sure I can get this one, because this is one, again, this first try, but may not be the case with this one. We're going to apply the same science that we use to this, except it's actually a lot more dramatic with a DVD, so I'll show you. Now, I cut my DVD in half with a pair of scissors. Use scissors to cut it the first time because you don't want to just snap it, and I'll show you why. When you go to snap it, we're actually creating our other thing of material. We're going to separate our layer of recording media from our protective layer on our DVD. So we're actually going to split off the back part, okay? And we are going to take it off from that front piece. So we've got two separate pieces here. Now you can see there's still a little bit of that recording media on here. Some of that reflective media, but it's mostly clear, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try on this one too and see if I can get one where I've got a little bit clearer area. And again, I have a bunch of DVDs because you want, sometimes this one does it, sometimes it doesn't, but you can usually get it to work. It's just this splitting it is a little bit tricky. So let's see. Oh, this time we're looking good. We're looking good. Oh, yeah. So now we've got this nice clear, you can see there's still that iridescent, kind of mirror that happened from our media, but you've got a nice clear piece of DVD, and that's the important part. Now, for this one here, make sure, again, you have an adult with you because you want to make sure everybody's safe, make sure things are working out there. And on this one, you are going to apply the same thing. We're going to heat it up just like we did with our nanotape, okay? And we are going to apply some heat, but instead of using a straw, we're just going to blow with our mouth, okay? Now, you gotta be quick, okay? So this may not happen the first time. We'll give it a shot. Maybe it will. And if it does, we may do it again anyway because it's kind of awesome. So when you're doing this, you will be applying heat to the underside, okay? Now, heat rises. So if you're doing it, don't put the lighter here to where that heat can come to your fingers, okay? You want to make sure that that is well clear of your hand. And when you're doing it, you don't want to be too close to the edge. You want to be about in the center. You want a nice area of room there. So we're going to give it our first try. I'm going to breathe first. Whew. Okay, yeah, all right, because I forgot to breathe since we started. Since I said, I'm Mr. Dave, I haven't breathed since. All right, so we are going to give it a little shot. We're going to start our little lighter here, and I'm going to be up here blowing on it, okay? Here we go. I'm going to heat it up. So we give it a little bit of heat right here. Now, you'll notice it'll start to droop. That's usually when it's ready. Now, again, it's a tricky, oh, first try. Look at that. Now, what happened here, this nice, beautiful bubble, this big old bubble, yes, first try. This beautiful bubble here that you can see is still that iridescent plastic is the same material, but it went very, very quickly, in this case, very quickly from a solid to a liquid and then back down to a solid. Okay, so let's try this one again. Now you know what you're looking for. We're going to do this one so you can see that happen. And then if you're watching this at home, then you can like rewind that and slow it down and then see how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a little bit bigger because now I really feel like I can do it, you know. So with this one here, you need a DVD. You need your lighter, and that's pretty much all this one takes, and some breath. Okay, so a part that I kind of wanted to show you this time that I really didn't point out last time too much was on what you want to do when you're separating this is you'll see I'm bending it, okay? Now when I'm bending it, I'm not real sure if you can see on the camera there, but when I'm bending it, you can kind of see where it begins to separate. You can see a little bit of that lighter part there. Yeah, you can see that right there. Yeah, that lighter part, perfect, thank you, is exactly what we want, okay? So that's exactly what we're after. So you get that part where the two layers are now separated, and we reach in there, see if we can get them, see if we've got enough. We may need a little bit more, so I'm going to do the same, because like I said, last time I didn't quite take enough time to point that out. Okay, so I've got a little bit of separation here. Now I'm trying to slide my finger under rather than pull it. It's the same like if you're trying to pull off a sticker, you know, like you just bought like this really cool album and they put a sticker on it and you're like, I want to get that off without tearing it. So you're doing the same thing here. So you want to be real careful and try and get around the whole outside there to get as much of that material off as you can. And that one worked out wonderfully. Okay, so we have our nice clear plastic. All right, so we're going to go for our bubble again. Let's see how we do. We're going to apply the heat. We may be able to get 2 out of this one. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to apply my heat. Okay, now when I'm doing that, that is showing the same as when we apply the heat to these molecules. When they went from solid to crazy, we're doing the same here. We're applying a lot of heat in a hurry, so these molecules are going from liquid to from solid to a liquid form very quickly. Okay, and if I were to continue heating it, it would actually drip and then eventually, you know, be able to kind of pour like liquid, but I don't want to do that because I'll burn my handies and because I would make a stain on the table. So we don't want to do that. We're just going to heat it, and you're going to heat it. I'll see if I can show you actually on one of these other ones just as a demonstration so you know, and I'll show it a little closer up for the camera just so you know what you're looking for. Now, I'm not going to blow this one. This one's just to show you. You can see when that material starts to droop. You see that droop in the material? That's what we're looking for, is that nice little droop in there. Now, I'm hoping that my lighter did not just run out of fuel. Did you see that? I saw that. Okay, so we're going to try it with this one here, and hopefully I've got a little bit of lighter fluid. Oh, come on. Okay, we'll be quick. So we're going to heat it up. We're going to get ready. Now we're waiting for that little droop. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, as soon as we see that plastic start to droop, there you go. We get that nice big piece of plastic. Now, I didn't break this one, so we can see that is all one big tube of that plastic. Okay, this you may, if you look at it closely, you can see that there's that very iridescent quality. It still has all of the rainbow. The iridescent is the different thicknesses reflecting light at different rates. So we have that rainbow there, okay? So we'll give it one more time. We'll see if we can get a little bit bigger one. Okay, I liked those ones, but I'm going to try for one a little bit larger, and then we'll wrap up. All right, so here we go. Oh, my lighter's working. Cool, cool. Here we go until I blew it out. And we're going to try, what I'm doing now is I'm making a little bit bigger circle, okay? As I'm heating it, a little bit bigger circle. So I've got a little bit bigger droop, and we'll see if we can get a little bit larger one. And there we go. Nice. All right, cool. So this was our polymer, okay? Kind of as a review, we are now affecting these with heat, okay? All of this mess that I've got right here is the same material as was in this DVD, okay? This hard plastic is just the same material as this. This was a physical change, just like when we had our head to our nice little bucket of ooh. It's a physical change. Nothing new was created. Nothing new was changed, or those molecules weren't bonded to anything else. It's a physical change, and it went from the state of a solid to a mostly liquid. Okay? Now, it's important, and I say that mostly, and I say almost, and I use that terminology. When you're thinking of solid, liquid, and gas, there really is a range, okay? Rather than that solid area of solid, liquid, gas, we do have somewhat of a range there. So you can, say, okay, well, this is mostly liquid, but on the top there, as you begin to evaporate, right, you've got different areas. So there is a little bit of a range. So this went from a solid to a mostly liquid, and that's what gave us that nice, beautiful balloon. This one here we did again with a DVD. You can also use CDs for these right here, but it really kind of varies on the CDs. Now, CDs are for people even older than DVD. CDs were actually just a music media, how you'd play music. Most cars don't even come with a CD player anymore, but a CD looked a lot like a DVD. The difference is on CDs, the way that they were pressed, okay? CDs, when you make them at home, you actually burn them, like we were talking, the heat. When they are manufactured after the masters, they're actually pressed. So all of your CDs won't work. Don't get discouraged if you find a CD, you're like, hey, I'm going to tear this up. And then you tear up that CD, and then like your dad's like, that was December Underground. And then he's sad. Anyway, but so you don't want to tear that up. I mean, if it's a CD, it's best if you can find one that says on the inside here, it will say CDR. And that's a CD writable, okay? And that was that kind of in-between version of making a playlist and a mixtape. You had CDs where you would burn a bunch of songs. So the inside of that ring is going to say CDR. And that one's going to work a lot better because it's made to be melted, right? When they're creating that media instead of pressed. Okay, so CDs work. So for this one here, you need a CD or a DVD. It's best if it's writable. And you're going to separate that thing up. And then you can do that experiment. Both of these involve heat or fire. Okay, anytime you have fire, make sure you have a parent. Make sure you're not doing this over something very flammable, anything like that, okay? So this does involve fire, so you want to be careful. Our nanotape. This nanotape is amazing for lots of things. It's very inexpensive, and you can do a lot with it, okay? So if you are doing science things at home, pick up some of this nanotape anyway. You can purchase it online. It may also be called gecko tape, right? Because we are going to talk about that science at a different time, okay? So you've got your gecko tape, you've got your lighter, and your CDs or DVDs, and you can do these, and then if you look online, there's even more, but like I say, please pay attention to safety, especially with this one here, because it can shoot off a little piece of napalm. And so you want to be careful with this one because this is very fun to do, but make sure you wear some safety glasses. If you're doing it with the hair dryer instead, the reason I don't like the hair dryer method is because your like fingernails and things will get real hot before you think about it. So be careful with that one. And that is it. So today we talked about polymers, we talked about heat, and we talked about molecules. Okay, slow molecules are solid, medium molecules are fluid. Those highly energized molecules are gases. Well, thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm Mr. Dave with the Ray Kitty Creation Workshop, and you are watching the Ray Kitty Science Project. Don't forget, science shows you matter.